Okay, so we're going to be starting chapter 13 on meiosis and other sexual life cycles that take place in organisms. So one thing that we are discussing in this chapter is how reproduction occurs, and that living organisms have various means to reproduce and how they get the traits that they have to the next generation. So genetics, just a little review on terminology here. Genetics is our study of heredity, the scientific study of heredity and variation. And so then what is heredity? Well, that is the movement of traits from one generation to the next, and then variation would be the differences that appear between the parents and the siblings. I'm going to move this slide along kind of quick, so pause if you need to. In section 13.1, we are going to be looking at, again, some review material. So again, I'm going to move through it kind of quickly. If you have questions, please ask. Obviously, we don't inherit the actual trait from our parents. We inherit the genes from our parents. And genes are units of DNA that control the expression of traits. We know that from our freshman year, the expression of traits means protein synthesis. So we will be getting into that later, but you inherit genes from our parents, and those genes are segments of DNA. Now, where do the genes come from? Well, they are transported from parent to offspring through gametes, which are our sperm and eggs. And when you look at a gene, genes have a very specific location on a specific chromosome. Every organism that belongs to the same species has that gene on that chromosome. What varies then is the version of the gene. But the loci or locus is the gene location on the chromosome. You do get one set of genes, quote unquote, or chromosomes, which a chromosome by itself is a collection of genes, okay? And you get one set from each parent. Now, just to clarify the difference between asexual and sexual reproduction, asexual reproduction is one parent making a clone. Typically that one parent is reproducing using mitosis, and the offspring that they produce is a genetic identical version of the parent, no better suited to their environment than the parent was. The sexual reproduction process, though, it requires two parents, and the bonus for that is that it does give you genetic variety. It gives you diversity. It hopefully produces offspring that may be a little better suited for the environment than what the parents were. So there's our hydra. The hydra is that freshwater selenorate, and you can see it budding there. Redwood trees reproduce asexually through vegetative reproduction. So just some examples there. Then we get into 13.2, looking at alternate cycles of meiosis and sexual reproduction. So a life cycle, when we say that, we don't mean lifespan. Lifespan is how long you live, but life cycle are all the changes that take place really reproductively for the organism. So from birth to maturation to reproduction would be the life cycle of an individual. So again, some terminology here that we have to remember. When we talk about somatic cells are body cells. We have 23 pairs of chromosomes in our somatic cells, or 46 chromosomes in every cell of our body. We know this because we have taken images of it. The image that we will use to look at chromosomes and look for abnormality of chromosome number would be a karyotype. A karyotype is an organized display of all our chromosomes. Now, when you look at them on a karyotype, we have them organized with their homologue or with their identical partner. So a homologous chromosome or homologous chromosomes are two chromosomes that are the exact same length, same information, same genes, and you inherit one of those chromosomes from mom and one of those from dad. So the set of 23 that you get from mom are homologous, or we hope they're homologous, to the set of 23 that you get from dad. So this is an image of a karyotype. The homologous chromosomes, these images are usually taken during mitosis. So the chromosomes have replicated, so the chromosome is organized as a pair of sister chromatid, and then both pair of sister chromatid, like if this was chromosome pair number 6, right? Both of those are chromosome number 6. One would have been from mom and one would have been from dad, and they're both replicated. They are color banded because they've been stained. Helps show the centromere location, but you can see that those banding patterns are the same on those chromosomes, so they line them up on a karyotype by size and by banding pattern, so we can look to see if there are any abnormalities in our chromosome pairs. And so every pair that you see there, like the one in the white box, that is a homologous pair of chromosomes. We also, besides having regular chromosomes, which are pairs 1 through 23, we have sex chromosomes. Our sex chromosomes are X and Y. If you're a female, you are a homologous individual for X. So you are XX. If you're male, you're hemizygous, is the word that I've heard thrown around for that. That means you have an X and a Y. The other chromosomes, like I said, are the regular chromosomes. Everybody, regardless of gender, has the other 22 pairs, and they're called autosomes. And they have the same information on them. So again, when you have a pair of homologous chromosomes, you have received one chromosome from mom and one from dad. And so you have 46 chromosomes in a somatic cell, 2 sets of 23. When you have a full set, when you have 2 sets, right, that's a full amount. When you have 2 sets, one from your mom and one from your dad, those cells are called diploid. If you remember us talking about that, a diploid cell is referring to 2 sets of chromosomes. So our body cells, each one has 2 sets, right? One from mom, one from dad, giving us our 46. Diploid is represented by 2N, where N is referring to sets of chromosomes, and then 2 is telling you how many you have. So our diploid number is 46. So replication then, oh, sorry, I should put that back so you can get it written down. So after replication in the S phase, our chromosome is now replicated. So we refer to that as. So our replicated chromosome is now composed of sister chromatid, which we talked about in mitosis. So you have 2 identical sister chromatids. So here in this cell, this would be a cell late interphase, early prophase, because my chromatid are paired up. And so you can see the long blue ones, that's a pair of sister chromatid, and then the long red ones, that's another pair of sister chromatid. They match by size, we can tell that, so they would be a pair of homologous chromosomes, just like the little short ones are and identified for us. The gametes, however, only have a single set of chromosomes. They are what we refer to as haploid, or 1N. They only have half or 1 set of chromosomes. So our haploid number is 23. So out of those 23, 22 of them are autosomes, and then the 23rd would be a sex chromosome. If you have an unfertilized egg, that one sex chromosome in an egg is an X. So every egg has the X sex chromosome. A sperm, on the other hand, can carry either an X or a Y.